On the Autocar show today, what does a 1.5-liter diesel engine add to the Volkswagen Ameo? The ridiculously fast Audi RS7 Sportback performance, and all the highlights from the 2016 Paris Motor Show.
It's crazy weather for October. I've never seen it rain like this. Keeps raining and stopping. We haven't seen sunshine for a while. But I think the forecast for the Volkswagen Ameo has just got better. The car was launched this June, and it was only launched with a petrol engine, which really didn't impress us. Well, now it gets the diesel that we've all been waiting for. Well, let's get right down to the change. The Ameo is the first Volkswagen to get the updated 1.5-liter TDI unit. This version gets a bump in power, which is 5 HP up to 110, and a larger turbocharger. But torque remains the same at 250 Nm. The figures on paper translate well out onto the road. It feels like a nice, powerful engine. There are no sudden spikes of power, and it pulls nicely and cleanly. The good part about it is that there's no perceptible lag, so you really don't have to work the gears too much. Lift off, slow down to something, you can put your foot down, accelerate again from as low as 12 or 1300 RPM. And it's got a good amount of top-end power as well, so it makes a great highway companion. Overtakes are easy and cruising as well. However, one must mention that the clutch feels a little heavy, and long hours in traffic will take their toll. The engine is a little noisy too at startup and when you rev it hard. But driven at a normal pace, the well-insulated cabin makes sure it's not intrusive. Now, this diesel engine has made all the difference to the Ameo. You really enjoy driving it now. It's a strong engine, but there are no sudden spikes of power. It pulls cleanly and strongly. The beauty about it is that there's no perceptible lag. And whether you want to amble around in city traffic or put your foot down and ride down a highway, this engine is happy to do both. What's good as well is the first in this segment. Volkswagen is offering the Ameo with an option of a 7-speed DSG Auto, but you will have to opt for the top two trims to be able to get the Auto Box. This Auto Box really makes light of city driving, especially in traffic conditions. Shifts are smooth and seamless, and when you want additional power, it's quick to respond to. You feel the lag slightly in the Auto below 1800 RPM, and that's because of the way the gearbox is tuned. It's also more when you demand sudden acceleration. The Auto Box responds better to a light foot, and when you're gentle on the throttle, as you gain momentum, you will see the gears slipping up quickly, often settling into 7s to keep the revs low, which means you can expect good fuel efficiency. In fact, if you go by claim figures, it's marginally more than the manual. However, when you want that little bit of extra punch, you can shift it into manual or sport, and that eliminates any presence of the sluggishness below 1800 RPM. Now, what has also improved over the petrol is the ride quality. Whereas the petrol felt a little soft and had vertical movement, this one feels much better tethered. The suspension seems to have been stiffened. That helps it absorb bumps better, and it offers an overall flatter ride too. Apart from that, not much else has changed. It still has the stubby boot and the Polo's nose with a slight tweak. The impressive interior also remains, and although simple and uncluttered, it is well built and of really good quality for its class. Top-end versions get an impressive feature list too. The DSG top-end additionally gets hill hold and ESC. The Ameo diesel is available in 3 trim levels: Trendline, Comfortline and Highline. Well, when we first drove the Volkswagen Ameo a couple of months ago, we felt its biggest drawbacks were the petrol engine, which really didn't impress us, and of course the tight backseat space. Well, the backseat space still remains tight because not much else apart from the engine has changed with this car. With the engine, yes, it makes a huge difference. This diesel engine is really nice to drive, it's powerful, and whether it's city or highway, it makes a great companion. So, has the diesel Ameo become a better buy? Well, most definitely yes, if you consider the performance. It is also a well-packaged car. You get that good solid German build, you get a great level of interiors, and of course, good fit and finish as well. Now, what we have to consider is price. The manual is competitively priced in the segment, but the DSG is a bit on the expensive side. You have to consider the fact that it is the only real auto around because the rest that compare to it, like the Zest and the Desire, are only AMT boxes. So if you were to ask me, should you buy a Volkswagen Ameo diesel, well, I would definitely say yes.
The Audi RS7 has a very special distinction for us at Autocar India. It holds the record for being the quickest accelerating sedan we have ever tested. It gets from 0 to 100 kph in just 3.8 seconds, and that's quicker than what even Audi says it will do. The reason for that, of course, is its powertrain. A 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox, and of course Audi's legendary quattro all-wheel drive system. The result is 560 horsepower and 700 Newton meters of torque. So of course the last thing it would ever need was more power, right? Well, that's exactly what Audi has gone and given it. Say hello to the 605 horsepower Audi RS7 Sportback Performance. So the Audi RS7 Sportback Performance, what does that extra performance suffix get you? Well, it's the same 4-liter twin-turbo V8 as before, but power has been kicked up from 560 horsepower to a fairly ridiculous 605 horsepower. That's a 45 horsepower jump. And while the torque output of 700 Newton meters stays the same in most cases, when you flatten your foot, it goes into overboost mode, and that raises the torque to 750 Newton meters. The result, Audi says, is that the 0 to 100 kph time has dropped from 3.9 seconds to 3.7 seconds, and well, I do not doubt that one bit. What's most impressive is that in our test of the old car, we managed to achieve the same 3.9 second figure. In fact, we even bested it and managed a 3.8. So can you imagine what this car can do? I cannot wait to find out. And well, we've got a smooth and straightish stretch of road ahead of us. Let's see what that's like, shall we? I don't have the timing equipment on me right now, but let me just try and demonstrate what that feels like. No fancy launch control or anything like that in this car. You simply put in dynamic mode, put your foot on the brake, other one on the accelerator, build up the rev, and here we go. 100. 100, that's 100. That's 100. That's like 3.7 seconds in it. But you want to hear something crazy? When we did strap our testing gear to the RS7 Performance in the proper conditions, it actually did the sprint in a mind-boggling 3.5 seconds. That is supercar acceleration. So yes, this will continue to be the fastest accelerating sedan we've ever tested, and when you consider that it weighs a whole 2 tons, that number just becomes so much more impressive. And well, apart from that, not much else has changed. The only difference is you can no longer opt for the smaller 20-inch wheel size option. 21 is your only option now, and that means you're stuck with a rather stiff ride, but that's okay, frankly, given the performance you have on hand. It is a performance car after all, and well, you've got to be prepared for a few compromises, right? The other issue with the big wheels is that they come with very thin, low-profile tires, which means you have to be careful going through potholes to avoid a puncture, or worse, a broken rim. And this car also appears to be fit with the standard air suspension rather than the optional Audi Sport suspension, and that does at least give it a bit of relief in the ride quality front when you put it in comfort mode. Not in comfort mode now though. Now, the other thing we love about Audi's RS cars, and especially the RS7, is the amount of grip you get through corners thanks to the quattro all-wheel drive. In fact, you have to keep an eye on the speedo from time to time because you don't realize how quickly you're going through corners. That's how much the grip is. Another very small change that Audi has made, but one I am really appreciative of, is the addition of a drive select button on the steering wheel. It makes matters so much more convenient. Say you're cruising down the expressway in comfort mode and you suddenly come across a twisty mountain stretch. You need to switch the drive select mode to dynamic, right? You simply click twice or thrice down on the drive select button and there you go. It's very handy. With its stratospheric statistics, the RS7 performance is really more about bragging rights than anything else. The acceleration will bend your mind, but then the standard car does that too. Come on. It isn't the most fun handling car, but then it grips so hard and shoots forward so furiously that even short bursts in everyday driving can be addictive. It will, of course, cost more than the standard RS7, but for those seeking ludicrous performance with luxury and a bit of practicality, until the next generation of super sedans comes along, this is it.
Hello and welcome to the 2016 Paris Motor Show. As ever with big international motor shows, there's lots to look forward to, new launches, new concepts, and the latest technology. Shapur, I think as ever there's going to be lots for us, but I think the India-specific stuff is what we should be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a whole range of new products, new production cars as well as new concepts, and we've been told that this is going to be the sort of transition here where we see a lot of electric vehicle production cars and really far out concepts coming to the market.
So let's go have a look at what's new and what's hot.
Our first stop was Renault, where the French car maker hit a home run with a stunning concept car.
The star at the Renault stand at the Paris Motor Show is this, the Renault Trésor, which is a concept car, it's a GT car, and it represents Renault's future design language. This car is sensual, it's warm, it's very organic looking, and what Renault says, it's all about life. It's about giving a human face to a car.
The Trésor is an easy concept to like, but here are some cars you can expect to see on our roads in the not too distant future.
The pink-fitted version of the Hyundai i10 makes its debut here at the Paris Motor Show. Now, it's not quite like the i10 or the Grand i10 we get in India. This European version is a bit different. It's a little bit more compact, a little sportier from the rear. Cabin space isn't as much as the Grand i10, which has a longer wheelbase. But what's interesting about this car is the grille. It's a nice, aggressive-looking grille, and that could be carried over to the Indian Grand i10 as well.
And, as has been the case over the last few years, there are more options amongst the SUVs. I'm standing with the new S-Cross that's got an all-new nose. It's got a new toothy grille that's probably more directed at the Chinese market. It's got all-new headlights, and it's got a wider chin with less painted material, much more rugged looking. We expect this to come to India in maybe around 6 or 8 months. But the key difference is we may not get this very grille for India. They may change it. Suzuki and Maruti in India, they may change this grille before they launch this facelifted car there.
We're here at the Audi stall, and the big one for us in India is this, the all-new Audi Q5. Now, it looks a bit evolutionary, but there's a lot of interesting design touches in here. Look at that grille, it's quite aggressive. The lights, they look terrific. And just take a look at that really sharp and solid shoulder line. It's definitely bigger than before, but it's around 90 kilos lighter as well. It's based on a platform that's similar to the Q7, so a bit of a shrunken Q7 in certain respects. And the rear end, there's a little bit of Q7 in there as well. Well, the cockpit of the Q5, it's like the latest Audis, the latest family of Audi. So what that means is you get this lovely virtual cockpit, a very high resolution screen, top quality materials. What you don't get are the air vents that really extend across the dashboard like in the Q7, but really high quality bits in here, which is really what you expect from an Audi.
I'm standing with the all-new Discovery from Land Rover. Now, this is not to be confused with the Discovery Sport, the much smaller version. This Discovery is a full-size SUV, a 7-seater around the size and price of a Q7. What's new in this car? Well, let me tell you, it's completely new. Whereas the earlier one was a hardcore off-roader and built on a ladder frame chassis and made of steel, this new one is more bonded aluminium. What's the weight difference? An amazing 480 kilos. Of course, the big difference between this car and the earlier Discovery is how rugged that old car was. It was square-jawed, it had lots of cladding. This new one is a lot more sophisticated, a lot of clean lines, sharp details, smooth surfaces. It isn't really an off-roader if you look at it, and that's a big change.
Now on the inside, if you're expecting a rough off-roader with seats you can wash down or hose down, forget it. This is as luxurious, this is almost as luxurious as a proper Range Rover. Look at the trim, look at the leather quality, it's beautiful aluminium inserts, super wide screen, the same steering wheel we get on those cars, the Range Rover and Range Rover Sport, and just as much luxury, almost as much. But something I really like is this clever little switch. It opens up to give you nice storage space here, so you can put things in there which you want to keep secure. Really clever. Of course, what makes it really different is the fact that it's got all this serious off-roader hardware. The low range, the ability to lift the car with locking differentials, it's got it all. And of course, it does it automatically for you as well. It's a Land Rover after all.
Once in the back, you're placed a bit lower than in the front, and seat comfort isn't as good, especially because your knees are up. But you can vary the length. You can come forward, you can go back, and there's all sorts of combinations, and that makes this quite practical. Interestingly, there's a whole range of engines from Land Rover, including a 2-liter diesel, and that will give Land Rover in India a lot of flexibility as to where they'll price it and place it. Let's see what they do when they bring this car to India next year. We aren't done with SUVs yet, because here's a concept that isn't all that far from a production car. I'm standing with the X2 concept from BMW, a really low-roofed, sporty SUV. Much in the mold of the X6, really attacking low-roof profile. It's got an interesting grille. It's an upturned BMW grille for the first time. Lovely X-Mark laser lights and a very aggressive lower chin. BMW say they're going to make this car on the UKL platform. That's the same front-wheel drive platform as the X1. And that would mean it won't have basically the same kind of handling characteristics as something like an X3 or an X5. It won't be predominantly rear-wheel drive, but they say it will be the sportiest of the lot. Now, although the window line looks like it's a 2-door, if you look closely, it's a 4-door vehicle. And of course, BMW, being BMW, have put something of their heritage in there. You can see the BMW roundel on the steeple. I think it looks fabulous, and I love the placement. This year's Paris show was brim full of electric concepts. But the one that really stood out was this one from Volkswagen. I'm sitting in Volkswagen's ID concept, which is a fully electric, part autonomous driving vehicle. As you can see, I've asked to drive manually, and it's offered me the steering. Of course, this is the concept, but what they're talking about, the MEB platform, the new electric car platform, that's a serious exercise. The whole plan is to get a Golf-sized car priced at the same amount in the next 2 or 3 years. Now, of course, I know that's a huge ask to get a modern electric car on the road at that price, but Volkswagen think we have the engineering skills to actually do it.
So Shapur, didn't take too long to go through the show. It was a little low-key this year. A lot of manufacturers out there.
You can tell that there's a bit of a transition going on, and the move to the new sort of environment, the electric environment, and that was really apparent. But
And diesel also was clearly, it was very low-key.
Yeah, even though and Renault made some statements recently, so I think also on the back burner in the rest of the world, not just in India.
Yeah, so talking specifically about the India's specific cars, I think the Q5, that's really the one closest which we're going to see and get.
Yeah.
So very interesting, again, like a baby Q7.
Absolutely.
It's got a lot of similar styling to, especially at the rear, and looks much beefier and a little bit more aggressive than before.
It's got a little more legroom in the back, which is very important for our sort of market.
Yeah.
And I also like the Discovery a lot. Beautifully clean lines, really attractive looking car, and it will have a much more accessible position. I think it will be much cheaper than the Range Rovers and the Range Rover Sports of the world.
That's right. The Discovery, in fact, it really looks quite different.
It has that thing that Indian customers love, that practicality of the 7-seat.
And I think for me, concept-wise, it was the Renault Trezor, which I just absolutely fell in love with. I think for me, it was a real showstopper, not a straight edge anywhere.
Absolutely, and it just shows where Renault is in the design world today. They're just getting everything spot on.
Well, I think the quick success is largely because of the design.
Absolutely.
I think from that standpoint, Renault has really killed it.
They're going to get the first really attractive looking one in the new age Runaway, the Capture. And I think for me, I really like the ID concept. I know it's a bit far out and it's a bit into the future, but it shows Volkswagen's commitment to the electric cause. And we said for the CEO to come and say very clearly, we are going after Tesla, that's a big statement.
That is a big statement, and I think overall the show, as Shapur says, it was really focusing on environmental trends going forward. Again, diesel had taken a backseat. It's all about hybrids, electric mobility. From an India standpoint, not too much. We did have a few vehicles which are definitely coming our way. But again, as always, a motor show, there's just so much to feast your eyes on. Hope you enjoyed watching the show too.